In case you missed it, given all the comings and goings in the past few days, highlighted by the pillaging of the Michigan coaching staff, Ohio State finished No. 3 in the final Associated Press Top 25 college football poll, behind Clemson and Alabama. Those three were the only schools that won 13 or more games. There's two ways of looking at this. A. As another chance to pile on for the Buckeyes' head-scratching 49-20 loss to a Purdue team that finished 6-7 and gave up 56 first-half points in a 63-14 Music City Bowl loss to Auburn. B. As a tribute to Ohio State for all the team overcame this season to finish 13-1 and win Big Ten and Rose Bowl championships, the Zach Smith saga, which sidelined head coach Urban Meyer for all of training camp in the first 3 games, the early injury and departure of their best defensive player, Nick Bosa, and, yes, the loss to Purdue, from which the Buckeyes would recover to win their last 6 games, 4 over ranked teams. The perspective will probably linger with us longer. The final AP rankings will serve as an off-season-long reminder that the Purdue debacle cost OSU a spot in the playoffs and a chance to compete for a national championship. Do I think the defense would have slowed Clemson quarterback Trevor Lawrence or Alabama quarterback Tua Tagovailoa? Almost certainly not. But the offense, spearheaded by the historic play of QB Dwayne Haskins, was playing as well as any in the country over OSU's last 3 games and, ultimately, might have delivered more than just OSU's best finish since the 14-1 national championship season in 2014. My final grades of the season are more of a reflection of the B perspective, so let's get with. Offensive line: the Buckeyes averaged 42.4 points and 535.6 yards, and as they say, everything starts up front. The line allowed only 23 sacks, which ranked 37th nationally and behind only Iowa and Rutgers in the Big Ten. That's sort of skewed because the Buckeyes attempted 153 more passes than Iowa and 210 more than Rutgers. The line had some issues at times with blocking on RPOs and the ground game never completely gained its footing. Michael Jordan never looked comfortable in his conversion from guard to center, and yet he was named to 2 All-America teams, and OSU dealt with injuries down the stretch to Demetrius Knox and Thayer Mumford. But all in all, the unit held up well. Now, with Jordan leaving early, the Buckeyes are looking at replacing 4 starters up front. Grade: running game: Ohio State tailback J.K. Dobbins crosses the goal line for a touchdown in the 45-24 victory over Northwestern in the Big Ten championship game. Photo: Thomas J. Russo, USA Today Sports. Regular readers of these grade cards know I was never a fan of alternating J.K. Dobbins and Mike Weber by series. I thought it worked to the detriment of both backs, especially the more dynamic Dobbins, who seems to be more of a rhythm runner. Ohio State can point to the final numbers. Dobbins gained over 1,000 yards for the second straight year, 1,053, and Weber finished at 954, with the two combining for 15 touchdowns, but they rarely played well together in the same game, and for large portions of the season the offensive balance was out of whack. There were only 4 games where the Buckeyes rushed for over 200 yards as a team, and 2 of them were the first 2 against Patsy's Oregon State and Rutgers. There were games of 119, 92, 76, 108 and 113. Very un-OSU-like. Grade: B passing game. Wow. We may never see another passing attack like this again from Ohio State. Of course, you start with Haskins, who in his one-and-done season completed 70% of his passes for 4,831 yards and 50 touchdowns, setting 20 school Big Ten records en route to finishing 3rd in the Heisman Trophy race. Just wow. He still needs to get better at handling pressure and not locking in on his primary target, but he'll be the first QB drafted, so he needed to go. It looks like 5-star transfer Justin Fields will be his successor, and he'll have a very good stable of receivers, even though the Buckeyes are losing the prolific trio of Paris Campbell, Johnny Dixon and Terry McLaurin. They combined for 167 catches, good for 2,433 yards and 31 touchdowns. the consistency issues of the past disappeared. Grade: a defensive line. Washington Huskies running back Myles Gaskin runs against Ohio State Buckeyes safety Jordan Fuller in the third quarter in the 2019 Rose Bowl at Rose Bowl Stadium in Pasadena. Caliph photo, Gary A. Vasquez, USA Today Sports. The Buckeyes suffered a huge blow when Bosa got hurt just 2.5 games in, never to return. To help prevent double-teaming the linemen he left behind, the brain trust, which is no longer, had the linebackers crowd the line of scrimmage, and we saw the disastrous effects. Once backs got past the first level, there was nothing but green in front of them. Ohio State gave up 7 touchdowns of 75 or more yards, 6 of them runs, and in a span of 3 weeks gave up the 2 longest plays from scrimmage in OSU history. Most of that is on the back 7, not the front 4, as the Buckeyes finished with 99 tackles for loss, 17th nationally, and 41 sacks, 9th. And Chase Young led the way with 10.5 sacks and 15.5 TFLs in tackle. Draymond Jones, who is leaving early for the NFL, had 8.5 and 13.0. Add Bosa to the mix and maybe this is the best team in the country when everything shakes out. Grade: linebackers coach Bill Davis was part of the coaching purge on this side of the ball, and, really, it could have been predicted back in September. But not all the blame falls on him. Outside of Malik Harrison, this crew struggled. I would have preferred to see more of Dante Booker. Maybe he just couldn't shake some of his health issues, but the guys in front of him, Tef Borland and Pete Werner, didn't cut it, whether athletically or instinctually. And Baron Browning hasn't yet lived up to his 5-star rating, although he moves better than Borland and Werner. Hopefully, help is on its way, beyond new backers coach Al Washington. Grade: D defensive backs. Ohio State safety Brendan White, 25 tackles Washington receiver Andre Bachelia in the Rose Bowl. White, who got a chance to play down this stretch, stabilized the secondary for the Buckeyes. Photo, Kelvin Kuo, USA Today Sports. A lot of people believe the Buckeyes miss former secondary coach Kerry Coombs. Who they missed even more this season were those 6 DBs taken in the first or second round of the NFL draft the last 3 years. As former coach John Cooper always said, it won't catch up with you until it catches up with you. It caught up with them. Freshman corner Jeff Okudah flashed his potential in the Rose Bowl, and safety Brendan White became a late-season find, but Jordan Fuller, even though he led the team in tackles, didn't play as well as the year before, while Kendall Sheffield and Damon Enright were often overmatched on the outside. Playmakers were sorely lacking in general. 9 interceptions from this crew all season. Grade: C- special teams. You aren't going to do any better than Drew Chrisman for your punter. He averaged 43.2 yards a kick with 16 of his 61 traveling 50-plus yards and 29 of them downed inside the 20. The coverage units, led by Terry McLaurin, were outstanding. Blake Cowbay was 10 of 13 on field goals, including 2 of 3 from the 40 and beyond. The longest return was a 42-yarder on a kickoff by DeMario McCall. Given the speed on this team, you would have thought the Buckeyes could have broken at least a couple for touchdowns. Grade: B coaching. Urban Meyer leads the Ohio State Buckeyes onto the field at the Rose Bowl in his final game as head coach. Photo, Kelvin Kuo, USA Today Sports. Urban Meyer leaves with an 83-9 record, a national championship, 7 East Division crowns, 3 Big Ten titles and a 7-0 mark against Michigan. Stains on that ledger will always be losses to Purdue, Iowa, 2017, and Michigan State, 2015, that should have never happened and keep the Buckeyes from being talked about like Clemson and Alabama. Ryan Day has already proven himself as an OC and is quickly making his mark as Meyer's successor with the early signees in the 2019 recruiting class, the addition of Justin Fields, and the staff he is assembling. Grade: A-. John Spencer. Ed Moore. Ohio State Football News. Close OSU running back J.K. Dobbins on Urban Meyer and how it has been business as usual since he announced that he is retiring after the Rose Bowl. John Spencer reported.